The Romance of the Commonplace. Introduction. To let this book go from my hands without someone more personal note than the didactic paragraphs of these essays contained has been, I must confess, a temptation too strong for me to resist. The observing reader will note that I have so rewritten my theses that none of them begins with an I in big type, and though this preliminary chapter conforms to the rule also, it is typographic rather than any more for modest reasons. Frankly, this page is by the way of flourish to my signature and is the very impertinence of vanity. But this little course of philosophy lays my character and temperament, not to speak of my intellect, so bare that finished and summed up for the printer, I am all of a shiver with shame. My nonsense gave, I conceit myself, no clue by which my real self might be discovered. My fiction I have been held somewhat responsible for, but escape for the storyteller is always easy. Even in poetry, a man may so cloak himself in metaphor that he may hope to be well enough disguised. But the essay is the most compromising form of literature possible, and even such filmy confidences and trivial gaieties as these write me down for what I am. Were they even critical in character, I would have that best of excuses, a difference of taste. But here I have had the audacity to attempt a discussion of life itself, upon which every reader will believe himself to be a competent critic by a queer sequence of circumstances. The essays begun in the Lark were continued in the Queen, and if you have read these two papers, you will know that one magazine is as remote in character from the other as San Francisco is from London, but each has happened to fare far afield in search of readers, and between them I have converted some view to my optimistic view of everyday incident. To educate the British matron and young person was perhaps no more difficult an undertaking than to open the eyes of the California native son. The fogs that fall over the Thames are not very different to the mists that drive in the Golden Gate after all. Still, I would not have you think that these lessons were written with my tongue and in my cheek. I have made believe so long that now I am quite sincere in my conviction that we can see pretty much whatever we look for, which should prove the desirability of searching for amusement and profit rather than for boredom and disillusion. We are in the day of homespun philosophy and handmade dogma, a kind of mental atavism that has made science preposterous. Modern astrologers and palmists put old wine into new bottles, and the discussion of psychomachy bids fair to revolutionize the eternal feminine. And so I, too, strike my attitude and apostrophize the universe as being in part a wholesome reaction from the prevailing cult. I might call my doctrine pagan science, for the type of my proselyte is the Bornese war chief, peripatetic on Broadway, the amused wanderer. But I shall not begin all my nouns with capitals, as it is my aim to write a romance with a small r. Also, my philosophy must not be thought a mere laissez-faire. It is an active, not a passive creed. We are here not to be entertained, but to entertain ourselves. I might have called this book a guide through the Middle Age, for it is then that one needs enthusiasm the most. We stagger gaily through youth, and by the time old age has come, we have usually found a participle working philosophy, but at 41 is likely to have a bitter hour at times, especially if one is still single. Or so they tell me. I shall never confess that status, and shall leap boldly into a white beard. A kindly euphemism calls this horrid halfway stage one's prime. I have here endeavored to justify the usage, though I am opposed by 1,000 poets. If some of these essays seem but vaguely correlated to my major theme, you must think of them as being mere illustrations or practical solutions of the commonplace, solved by means of the theory I have developed and iterated. It was hard indeed to know when to stop, but ragged are my hints. I hope that in all essentials I have covered the ground and formulated the main rules of the game of living. One does not have to be an expert to be able to do that.